Everyone teaches us how to love others, but no one teaches us how to love ourselves. We chase approval, beg for attention, and shrink our own worth just to be accepted. One day, after being ignored, used, and emotionally broken, a person finally realizes a painful truth. The moment you stop loving yourself, the world stops respecting you. This is not a story about selfishness. It's a story about survival, healing, and learning that the most important relationship you will ever have is with yourself. Asterisk, he was known as the one who never said no. If someone needed help, he was there. If someone needed a shoulder to cry on, he listened. He believed that love meant sacrifice, so he kept giving pieces of himself away, hoping one day it would be enough for someone to stay, to care, to choose him the way he chose others. He laughed even when his heart felt heavy, because he didn't want to be a burden. He agreed even when it hurt, because he feared being left behind. Slowly, his own needs began to feel unimportant. He stopped asking himself what he wanted and started living according to what others expected. His days were filled with pleasing voices that never truly saw him. At night, when the world went quiet, a strange emptiness followed him. He would replay conversations in his mind, wondering what more he could have done, what more he could have given. Yet no matter how much effort he poured into others, the feeling of being invisible never left. One evening, after a long day of being useful to everyone else, he stood alone in front of the mirror. He searched for the person he used to be, the one with dreams, opinions, and fire in his eyes. But all he saw was exhaustion. His smile felt practiced, his confidence borrowed. In that reflection, he realized he had been slowly erasing himself, just to keep others comfortable. That moment didn't come with tears or drama. It came with silence. A heavy, honest silence that asked a simple question. When was the last time he chose himself? He had mistaken self-neglect for kindness and approval for love. And in trying to be everything for everyone, he had become nothing for himself. That quiet realization marked the beginning of understanding how deeply he had lost himself while trying to please the world. Asterisk, the pain didn't arrive all at once. It crept in quietly, disguised as patience, hope, and second chances. Each time he was ignored, he told himself it didn't matter. Each time his effort went unnoticed, he convinced himself to try harder. But pain has a way of collecting interest, and one day it demanded to be felt. The moment came when he needed someone the way he had always been there for others, and no one showed up. He sat alone, staring at his phone, refreshing the screen, waiting for a message that never came. In that silence, something inside him finally broke, not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. He realized that his exhaustion wasn't from giving too much love, it was from giving it to people who didn't value it. The tears that followed were not weakness. They were truth finally surfacing. Days passed, and the loneliness forced him to listen to his own thoughts for the first time. Pain became his teacher. It showed him every boundary he had ignored and every moment he had tolerated disrespect in the name of love. He began to see a pattern. People didn't push him away. He had been pushing himself aside. It taught the world that his feelings could wait. With each painful memory, a lesson formed. Love without self-respect turned into self-destruction. Kindness without limits invited exploitation. He understood that being understanding should never mean being invisible. This realization hurt more than any rejection. But it also carried power for the first time. He stopped blaming himself for not being enough and started questioning why he accepted so little. Pain no longer felt like punishment. It felt like guidance, leading him toward a version of himself that knew his worth. In that quiet suffering, he learned the truth no one had taught him. If you don't protect your heart, the world will keep testing how much you are willing to lose. Asterisk, the change did not happen overnight. It began with small, uncomfortable choices. He stopped explaining himself to people who never tried to understand. He paused before saying yes and listened to the quiet voice inside that asked, "What about me?" For the first time, he allowed himself to feel without apologizing for it. The fear of being disliked still lingered, but it no longer controlled him. Walking away was the hardest lesson. Because he didn't care, but because he finally cared about himself more. He He let go of conversations that drained him and relationships that survived only on his effort. In the beginning, the loneliness felt sharp, but soon it turned into peace. He discovered that being alone was far better than being surrounded by people who made him feel invisible. With every boundary he set, his confidence grew. He no longer chased validation or waited for permission to be valued. He started doing things simply because they made him happy, not because they impressed anyone. His smile became real again, and the heaviness in his chest slowly lifted. Self-love did not make him arrogant or cold. It made him calm and steady. People noticed the change. Some drifted away when they realized he could no longer be used. Treated him with a respect he had never received before. But the greatest change happened inside him. He trusted himself, protected his energy. He understood that his worth was not something to be negotiated. In choosing himself, he didn't lose love, he redefined it. Love became something mutual, healthy, and honest. The story did not end with applause or recognition. It ended with peace. And that peace came from a simple truth he now lived by. When you love yourself more than anyone, you stop begging to be chosen, because you have already chosen yourself.